I am your friend, Dr. Charles Apoki. There's something that has been trending, and it is the massacre that took place in Ishielu local government area of Ebonyí State. The tendency for most commentators when these things happen is the sensationalism. We don't do these things to get views, or somebody will say to make money from YouTube. I'm a rich man. This is 40 years, 41 years I've been a medical doctor. If I'm a poor man, after 41 years of medical practice, then I must be very stupid. So we do these things because we care about this country. If I want to travel out of this country, the number of forms I will fill, the number of information I will supply, including my mother's father's name, my mother's date of birth, how does that relate to me? And so the insults we receive outside this country is very painful. It is because our nation has degenerated to a point where people do Thanksgiving when they get a visa to go out of this country. In the beginning, it was not so. For me, I am telling my story. I am narrating my story in a digital form that will stay forever, even after I've departed this world. I want my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren, to know that I was not part of the rot of this country. So there was a massacre in Ishielu on Sunday. Took place on February 2nd, 2025 in the morning. This was after a peace and reconciliatory mission by the security agencies and the government officials that reassured the people in Ishielu. There's some communities there that they should not emigrate out of their community, that their security was guaranteed. A report has it that the people of that community that was attacked, I can't pronounce the name very well, had informed government 4 days before the attack. Whether it is that prompted the government to come or it was after the peace meeting, I can't authenticate that. But government was aware that the people were scared. At the same time, government came and security agencies to reassure the people. But after a few days, they were invaded, houses burnt, people deleted. This is not the first incident. I went into the archives and I found out that on April 6th, 2021, Professor Yemi Oshibanjo, the Vice President of Nigeria, on his Facebook page or YouTube page, posted his visit to Ishielu local government area because of a similar massacre. People were killed, and the people gave him a list of the culprits, and he vowed that those people will be brought to book. And as usual, that book is never opened and nothing is ever written on it. And so, but we thank God that he went there to commiserate with the people, with the governor, with security agents, and promised to cater for the needs of the people. Just like as it has happened, he told the people not to retaliate, and he was right. Because when I hear this discussion about the conflict between herdsmen and farmers, most commentators just generalize Hausa people. No, it is not a northern issue or an Hausa affair. Hausas are predominantly farmers and traders. They are not herdsmen. And they are also victims of this herdsmen crisis and massacre and oppression and territorial occupation. So don't say Hausas. Every northerner is not a Hausa man. There are Christians there, there are enemies there are all kinds of people. So don't make it Hausa, Igbo discussion. No. This is a herdsman farmer clash. The middle belt, they are suffering it a great deal. In the northeast, northwest, they are suffering it. I have friends who are Muslims that I trade with, I do business with. If you call him a Fulani man, he gets very angry because he has suffered a lot of indignity in the hands of those headsmen. And let me state up front, people like El Rufai said that these headsmen, these Fulanis that invaded the country are not Nigerians. And I believe they came in to uproot Goodluck Jonathan from power. And some people believe that they were not settled, and so they decided to settle themselves in this country. We have been living with Fulanis over the years, at least in the southern part of Nigeria. We've been living with Muslims. We've been living with Hausas. We have Hausa quarter. We've been living with Northerners. We had the Igala quarter to carry. My father saved the Igala people during the Civil War. I can speak Igala. Agba, Adudu, Islafia, Inyome. So it's not Hausa, Igbo is not North-South. These are a band of terrorists and criminals that want to take over our nation. Ochibanjo prayed that it will never happen again, but it did happen. It did happen. And just like as the government is saying now, the people were prevailed upon not to avenge, and they were commended for their peaceful approach. The Ebonyí man is a very simple and peaceful person. And sometimes we take their simplicity for granted. On October 24th, 2022, the police held a press conference, 2022, about how they were able to dislodge a camp of the Eastern Security Network in Ishielu local government area. I suspect that the Eastern Security Network took things into their hands to protect their people. One of the problems we have with the East, let me say it up front, is that their leaders and their governors keep quiet when their people are oppressed, terrorized, decimated, and massacred. And that's why these young men arose. It's a vacuum that they left. There was a time they were being, young Easterners were being maltreated. It was me and Uroboman that started calling their leaders at Abuja to stop that dehumanizing treatment. If not, they would just be concerned about their political offices, their businesses, and later come during Christmas to intimidate people with money. It's not a right attitude. It's not a right attitude. When somebody like El Rufai can say that if you touch a Fulani, it's a debt that you owe that you will eventually pay. How come the leadership of the Igbo nation do not care about what happens to their people? They are just pursuing their political careers and are very timid and docile. It's very irritating. That's why these young boys arose. That's why they arose. It's a leadership failure from people of my generation. I'm not an Igbo man, please bear with me, but I lived there and I know what is happening. My question is, Why was it very easy for these massacres to be perpetuated and the people not dealt with decisively? Sometimes when these people are arrested, they are set free very easily. It happens all over the country. Sometimes the security agencies have been, people like Danjuma, T.Y. Danjuma, have accused the security agencies of collaborating. T.Y. Danjuma is not a mean man. He was chief of army staff or something years back. So an old man, far older than I am. For him to make such a categorical statement, he must have information. Sometimes when these things happen, the security agencies do not come on time. And when they come on time, like some of the elders in the community they invaded, they said their phones were seized so that they could not video record what happened. But this is a digital age. Somebody can put a camera on his button and it will video record, and the videos came out. The interviews were done. How long can we start hiding from reality and truth? When you deny reality and truth, the consequences amplify with time. And how long can security agencies be seen to be soft-handed towards bandits and terrorists? It is very tragic. Now, in other occasions, some of these cows are owned by natives. They are owned by people from that area. And so they employ the herdsmen to go rear cows for them. Thirdly, some of the greedy leaders in these communities, they collect money from these herders and allow them to graze because they gave them a long-term lease. There was somewhere in Delta North where the herders provided a receipt for their payment to graze in that land, that their tenure has not expired. I know a community where I come from. Herders don't graze there because they warned the king and warned the leaders not to collect money from any herder. They don't cross that place. I found them. So, this thing has a very complex network because animal husbandry, according to federal government, is able to generate 33 trillion naira per annum. 33 trillion. I did a post that 6,000 cows are slaughtered in Lagos every day. One stupid human being came to contradict me. And it was the Commissioner for Agriculture that said that. 6,000 cows slaughtered every day in Lagos State. Compute that for a month. It's up to 1 trillion naira. You have not computed the one in Ibadan, Enugu, Oyo, Warri, Sapele, Benin, Ilorin, round. So animal husbandry is big money. And that's why these individuals are able to have expensive and sophisticated weapons and ammunition, and people even allege that helicopters drop materials for them. And some of these cows are owned by top Nigerians that have power, and they are ready to destroy any person because of it. So it's a deep-seated crisis. One would have thought that the creation of the Ministry for Animal Husbandry would have mitigated these things, and steps will have been taken to make sure that these cows are not roaming around. The average Nigerian cow looks dry. Go to Europe, go to South Africa, go to even Saudi Arabia, go to Brazil, go to Argentina. The average cow produces 30 liters of milk elsewhere. These haggard ones in Nigeria produce only 1 liter of milk. Only 1 liter. Because they trek and trek and trek and trek. You don't see cows apart from India. You don't see cows roaming into people's properties in developed societies where beef is even cheaper. And we are not the largest, the country with the largest population of cows. We are not number 10 even. So why are we using it to constitute a nuisance? There is something behind it, and we shall dwell on some of these things. So there's something pathetic about this issue, as I said earlier on. The Eastern governors are very docile, and most times they don't care about their citizens. They care more about political correctness and their servitude to political leaders in order to gain ministerial and other appointment positions, to the detriment of their people, particularly in the eastern part of the country. Something very instructive happened in that village. Nigeria is like an influenza virus. It has a way of affecting nearly every person, not in the same season, but different seasons, particularly during winter. Winter might mean old age. A police officer, a retired police officer, was burnt inside his house. Burnt inside his house in that community. Retired police officer. Now, I can imagine when that man was with police uniform, he would be gallivanting all over the place. They will send him to come and arrest people like us who are saying the truth about the country, send him to go and shoot people who are protesting about bad governance, about hunger, about whatever. He has retired and gone to his village. He has pulled his uniform. He has dropped his gun. He has become as vulnerable as any person that didn't have an opportunity to change this country. The wife of a retired, is it AIG or DIG or Dumosu, was kidnapped in the western part of this country. When her husband was in power, when she was a senior personnel of the Nigerian Police Officers' Wives Association, nobody could go near her. But winter came and the flu called Nigeria caught up with her. Even though she was rescued, do you know the trauma she will have gone through? If you have been kidnapped once, when you see a car driving fast towards you, you think they've come again. Do you know the post-traumatic stress disorder she will be going through now? Do you know? And so, I can imagine the stress that woman has gone through in the days of captivity. Nigeria has a way of catching up with people. Any issue you don't address in this country will locate your address with time. No matter how powerful you are, any issue you don't address in this nation will find your address with time. Look at Jeremiah Oseni. They were bringing his body back from France and they went to queue in the airport. Jeremiah Oseni was governor in Bendel. Jeremiah Oseni was minister. Jeremiah Oseni was supposed to even take over after the death of Abacha. So all these years, Jeremiah Oseni and his group could not build good hospitals in this country where he could go to for treatment in old age. If any of them is sick, they fly overseas, spend our money, and most times they come back dead. Bad roads will affect you. Even if you are using solar energy and you are using electric generator, you are still going through stress. That's why we talk. This nation will catch up with every person. All these people running around, arresting people, taking people for cyber wanting. It will catch up with you. Those of us we have limited time to stay alive here. It will catch up with you who are younger than us. That's why we say these things. And so Nigeria is like a flu. eventually catches an influenza virus. It eventually catches up with every person. If not this season, maybe next season. And that's why we talk. That's why we address these issues. Now, the issues at stake. There is a sense of immunity and impunity with these headsmen. How can somebody surround a community, set fire on the houses, burn them? They don't live in cities, they live in the bush. Is it very difficult to go and track them? The same thing with the ones in the north, that they will come on social media, one governor will go and visit them, Gumi will go and visit them. Don't they know where they are? They know where they are. So these people have a sense, and this sense of immunity and impunity, I talked about it when that Yoruba elder was assaulted and insulted by a traditional ruler. People think they can do things and get away with it. But what bothers me is that if these communities that were invaded in Ishielu were having boundary dispute with a fellow Igbo community, they will have the capacity to go and fight the other community, but they don't have the capacity to defend themselves. I don't understand it. If cult groups in that town are fighting, they will have the capacity to bring down each other. But these same cult groups in that local government area will not have the capacity to defend their mothers and defend their fathers. What is wrong? I don't understand it. So, there is a sense of immunity and impunity among these headers. They don't care. They don't respect any laws. And then, there's a sense of tribal superiority. Somebody confronted a headsman near me here, and he said that the land belongs to them, that Nigeria belongs to them. That Nigeria belongs to them. They have this sense of superiority, tribal superiority, that every other tribe in this country is born to be slaves to them. No wonder some people put born to rule in their number plate at one time until it was removed. Then there is negligence and lack of the will on the part of the security agencies to confront them. The way people are willing to burst into the houses of civilians, climb fences to arrest people, they say they have right to break into any place, but without warrant or not. Don't you have right to go into the bush to arrest these people? The way you track people who on social media, don't you know that you can arrest and lock up? Don't you have the same capacity to track people who are killing your citizens? You have better capacity. The Nigerian police force, any security agencies, if they want to work, they work. But the will is not there. The negligence is there. You don't take these things seriously. Now, another thing is that it is an economic displacement policy. Displace these people who have fertile grasslands and replace them and take over their territories in the north and the south. Now, nobody is immune in this country. Remember Olufalaye, former secretary to federal government, that was a presidential candidate. His farm was set ablaze. I think he was he even kidnapped by headsmen at one time? Set ablaze, whether secretary to federal government or not. We must address these issues now instead of intimidating civilians, ordinary people like me. We must address, even if you kill me now, you will face the problem tomorrow. Your children will face it. So better take these things we are saying seriously. A major general recently in the Niger Delta, his head was macheted by headsmen. Pandef posted it in their WhatsApp group. Macheted by headsmen. He got to his farm and he saw headsmen, cows were eating his crops that were due for harvest. He confronted them. They attacked him and macheted him, whether you're a retired general or not. And so we must take these issues seriously. If these headsmen are strangers to our country, if they came from other countries, then it is an invasion of our nation. And the security agencies have a legal and moral responsibility to defend the integrity of our country. And they should take it seriously. As I'm doing this video now, a few days back, Umunede in Delta State, there was crisis there. People were running up and down because a group of headsmen and their cronies were terrorizing the people. Schools closed. So it is an attempt to destabilize this nation. They came from their poor countries stricken by famine in the Sahel and in some parts of West Africa, to this nation to take over our fertile land, take ransom from us, and destabilize our polity. It will not work. They did it with Goodluck Jonathan, but it should not work now. It should not work now. Now, and if care is not taken, the kind of rhetorics that are going on, some of them very, very ignorant. When you say Hausa, no, Northerners, no. It's a particular, not all Fulanis. It is a group of terrorists and bandits who masquerade as headsmen that are destabilizing our nation. And all reasonable Northerners, Fulanis, soldiers, policemen must stand up and say never in our lifetime. If not, this nation is heading for doom. And that's why the state police issue must be quickly and immediately established, but with provision that the governors will not use it to intimidate their enemies during elections. Because Nigerians, I will do a video, there's something wrong with our brains, and it has to be corrected. My heartfelt condolences go to the people of Ishielu in Ebonyí State and all the communities where these bandits and terrorists have killed, maimed, raped our people. May this message reach the leaders and may they act. Form vigilante groups like as Soludo has done in Anambra State, and we are getting results against these evil people who were kidnapping people in Anambra State. Very painful. I remain Dr. Charles Apoki. Send a message to +234 80 21 21 92 62. God bless you for our webinar that comes up on the 7th and on the 8th of February. And we'll have properties for sale. The number again, +234 80 21 21 92 62. God bless you.